Bashir was ready, but Ollie Pope just holds him up and makes another adjustment to the field. Harry Brook is going to go into leg slip, and there are now acres of space for Danijaya da Silva, should he feel the need to drop the ball into the offside. With a drift in towards the right-hander, which will bring that leg slip into play, should there be a bit of extra bounce. I suppose the one thing that Bashir hasn't had before is that sort of those footmarks to aim at outside the right-handers off stump here in England. But with the field that he's got at the moment, 6'3", he's more inclined to bowl at the stumps.
Yeah, just like that. You bowl at the stumps and potentially look to bowl a bit more overspin. I won't try to get around the ball too much. Won't try to drift the ball away, because that'll get outside the right-handers off stump and present an easy scoring opportunity through that offside field. Like a change of pace, potentially an arm ball on that occasion. Yeah, the speed went up from 52 to almost 57 miles an hour. There it is, single finger arm ball.
The invitation has been left open, and he accepted with aplomb.
Yeah, great use of the feet. Right to it on the half volley. Simple swing of the bat.
Yeah, just looking for short leg and leg slip into the game with that sort of line, but played well by Da Silva. 146 for 5. Joe Root, you'd imagine, unless they decide to give Chris Wokes a go, or perhaps even Dan Lawrence, who has taken a number of wickets, batting in the middle order and playing as a spin bowler for Surrey in the county championship. And indeed it will be Dan Lawrence. Left-handed Kamindu Mendis in his sights. Both of these Sri Lankan batters have played spin well and play spin well.
No one under the helmet either. They've got the regulation slip and the leg slip. Ollie Stone will be 3/4 of the way back to the fence, a deep backward square. Look to attack the stumps, bowl nice and straight.
You've seen Dan Lawrence bowl before, Rick?
I have, but it doesn't get any prettier. It is very, what would you say, it's very unusual, isn't it? Ungainly. Jump up over the top. Follows through across the wrong side of his body. It does.
Yeah, I mean, there's none of that sort of classical off-spinner's pivot over the left foot. He actually lets go of the ball before the left foot hits the ground. No, it's got gloomier still. Right, thinking that there does come a point where even with the spinners on, the umpires can take the players from the field. Lord help them if they do.
Yeah, I think I'd be right in saying that when we have been off the field in the past, it's been because it's been deemed to be dangerous to face fast bowling. I think it gets to the point when it gets too dark that it's just become unacceptable to play.
Well played by Sri Lankan captain. Leg slip is there just for that sort of delivery, sort of drifting in and then kicking up around thigh pad height. Temptation can be to just try and nudge it around the corner, but it brings leg slip very much into play. Pick up that easy single on the offside. The over from Dan Lawrence, and his ministry of silly walks is done. 148 for 5. There's a certain feel of sort of unreality about the game when this happens, when you're having to do. You show Bashir as a frontline spin bowler, no doubt about it. Ollie Pope, under normal circumstances, given the way that his seamers have gone, given the conditions, would be bowling seam here all day long. So Sri Lanka have got to really concentrate as 150 comes up. So they have no idea, as Ricky Ponting mentioned before, as to how long they might be out there or might not be out there, and that simply cannot be a consideration. They might also see it as an opportunity to kind of chipping away at this lead, and perhaps England will have no recourse to go back to the seamers while the light is like this. It might be a chance for them to really get after them. But
yeah, I think they'll go the other way, because for me it looks almost inevitable that we're not going to be out there much longer. It has got darker since play has resumed. Saw the Sri Lankans taking their time in between overs, trying to put a little bit of pressure back on the umpires, just making them aware of how difficult it might be for them out there.
It's only his second over, might just think about going the other way, bringing a fielder over, leaving the leg slip in place perhaps, but just attacking the line more at the keeper's gloves, give himself a bit of reinforcement on the offside and throwing the odd one down the leg side. Dhananjaya has looked pretty comfortable just leaving that ball around about his hip. 31 overs gone, 150 for 5. Unusual for youngsters to be after autographs. Many selfies these days, perhaps it's too dark.
Well, if England do get a feel that they're actually going into their shell here and just trying to survive, I'd like to see another one in, maybe a bat pad offside. Open up the mid-wicket region, potentially, or get the leg slip, bring him in under the nose of the batsman. Just get another fieldsman in his eye line. Stop him just popping forward and being happy to defend. Give him something else to think about.
Turn. seam position for an off spin. Good support from Pope in the field.
I like the intent there, though, from Kaminda Mendes, looking to be positive, looking to use his feet still, looking to score.
Not so good from Bashir at backward point. With the way that they're sort of looking to get the wickets here with that leg slip and a short leg, it's always a good option for the right arm off spinner to bowl around the wicket to the right-handed batsman as well. You can then pitch the ball down the line of the stumps. It brings LBW into play, makes the batsman feel he has to play a lot more, which brings that bat pad and leg slip in. Yeah, actually, it's been something that Shoaib Bashir has been a little bit reluctant to do over the course of this summer, bowling to the right-handers. But I think you're right, it certainly is a really important weapon for the off-spinner to the right-hander, particularly when there is a lavish spin from rough outside the off-stump. One for 5. That's good. I reckon Shoaib Bashir is a good enough bowler to hold a little bit wider of off stump with the odd ball straighter, looking for that leg slip.
Yeah, I agree. That wider line then brings the outside edge into play as well, the one that doesn't spin. You quite often see those balls nick to first slip.
Has the added advantage of perhaps taking the right-hander slightly across his stumps. And if you do that, then it makes it easier to get the ball unintentionally to the leg slip. But if everything's there, you can just either let it hit you or let it pass harmlessly by to the keeper.
So what would you do then? Where would your fielder come from? 45?
I'd probably leave that guy there and just bring the man and the sweeper on the offside up, put him at point.
Nice bash.
Looked as though he'd swallowed it up in those huge hands, and then suddenly the ball was on the floor. Excellent over, much better from Bashir. 1-5-2 for 5, should have been 6. Barely got a hand on it. Well, the light is bad. And that's the only excuse I can come up with for him.
And as we know, there is no worse feeling in the game than that. You're on debut, Teams looking for a breakthrough late in the day, potentially before you actually leave the field. Presented with a very straightforward chance. Unfortunately, it goes down. Let's have a look at the reaction. Batsman comes down. It's the bottom of the bat. He knows straight away that he's mishit it. And look at the bat. Out it goes. He give it up altogether, only to get a reprieve. Down she goes.
One of the things about batting in the twilight period, particularly here in England, where it doesn't get properly dark anyway, particularly one-day cricket, until very, very late on in the piece, that I always found that my depth perception was never quite as sharp as it might be when it was either broad daylight or very, very dark. And perhaps that was the problem for Josh Hull there. The ball, it just seemed to arrive before he was ready. And it wasn't going very quickly.
I mean, he looked surprised himself, didn't he? He couldn't believe that it had snuck through the fingers. Actually hit him right in the throat. Fella that'll still be playing on his mind. He can't believe it. Still shaking his head. You ready for the next one, big fella? You might get another chance. Probably won't be as easy as that one, but you might get another chance.
Sounded like a soft noise in the ear. Instead of clapping the open hands together, he needs to close one of them, or at least have it stiffly up in the air. Close, but no cigar, I think. Runs away for 4.
Just going back to your earlier point about Sri Lanka potentially looking at this as an opportunity. It doesn't look like the umpires are making any sort of gestures that they might be looking to go off. This might be a time now where Ollie Pope actually starts to think about, do we need to be out here? Is this in our best interest to be here? Just a couple of boundaries in the last few deliveries. The partnership stretches out to 72.
Nicely played. Very nimble on his feet is Danijay de Silva. Just gave himself a smidge of room. Dabbed it down towards third man for a couple. Warm welcome to viewers on main event. Sri Lanka trailing by 158, 167 for 5. The light is poor. England are choosing to bowl spin to stay out there.
And if they do continue to stay out there, I think I'd be going to Joe Root if I was Ollie Pope. 69 test wickets for Joe Root. He always had that bit of a golden touch with the ball.
Yes, Bashy!
Underrated as far as his off-spinning ability is concerned, I believe.
One 6-8 for 5, and Nas has something for us in third.
Yeah, Butch, England need to decide if there's enough rough outside the right-handers off stump to bowl that attacking line that you're talking about. Before Hull bowled, there was nothing really. What they had was a bit full. You can see Josh Harler's got a few in his follow-through, but England don't think that's enough to bowl the attacking line. First ball after tee, they moved that man in from the offside that you discussed into leg slip because they think there's not much outside off, but also because they've got Dan and Jay out caught round the corner there. That was Old Trafford, first innings, and nearly just now off Dan Lawrence, nearly tickled it there as well. It's all about the rough. Is there enough rough out there to bowl that more attacking line? We've seen it before. Just wait here. Yeah, Moeen Ali with a bit of drift and trying to get the ball spinning in through Baton Pad and Ricky Ponting at Edgbaston off Graham Swan. And this is not a dig at Ricky Ponting in any way. I'm just saying this is the attacking line that Graham Swan used to bowl. It's what you... This has been... There's enough rough. Sorry, Ricky. Although that's turned and bounced.
Not a dig. I believe you. Thousands wouldn't.
I've been here commentating for a number of years and I've seen that replay every single time. Along with a run out that I happen to see quite a few times as well.
Well, it's all right. Nobody escapes it. It's a sign of endearment. Nicely played. Nasser's absolutely right. Certainly wouldn't advocate bowling a wide line. I just wonder whether or not, particularly for Bashir, you can overcook sort of bowling the ball at middle and leg to the point where the batter doesn't even think about engaging with it. But I get your point.
The other thing you can do as well, Butch, is you don't have to change the line that you bowl from over the wicket. You can just change your angle and bowl around the wicket and actually try and use some angle slightly across the right hander, bring the outside edge into play.
Well, one thing's for sure, Sri Lankans in this partnership now, 77 between De Silva and Mendes. They've looked a lot more comfortable against England's spinners on this day 2 pitch than perhaps they might have done had England been able to bowl seam with it swinging around. Having said that, Bashir should have had the wicket of the Sri Lankan captain. Milan Rathnayake is the next man in. Scored an excellent 70 on debut up at Old Trafford in the first test. To find that gap between extra cover and mid-off, and that is a shot of high class indeed. 174 for 5.
The Solheim Cup is back. Rivalry, passion, atmosphere. Individual form goes out the window. It's team versus team. Will it be 4 in a row? Or will it be the USA show? The Solheim Cup, live on Sky Sports.
England forced to bowl spin because the umpires feel that the light's not good enough for the quicker bowlers. Could have had another wicket. Josh Hull, there is no worse feeling, I can tell you, than dropping a catch in Test match cricket. You're out, you walk off into the dressing room, you drop a catch, you're there, the cameras are on you, the replay screen's showing it. Running.
Yeah, some sides have certain fielders that tend to drop dollies over and over again. Josh Hull, of course, on debut, and this is as easy as it can ever come to you. Took it a little bit easy, couldn't get it on the rebound either. Michael Vaughan used to drop quite a few.
He did, yeah. Used to call him Scissor Hands, Michael Vaughan.
I've dropped a few in my time, Nasser.
Symbols, I used to call you.
Yeah, he used to call me Symbols quite often, actually. A young cricketer trying to make his way in international cricket. Nasser Hussain,
My heart
experienced,
bleeds.
seasoned.
You did all right.
Prasanna Jayawardena, every time he missed one, it's either 150 or 200 miss, usually. But lucky for Sri Lanka, Dhananjay De Silva still there and fighting on. Would you stay here much longer if you were England?
For a little while still, Kumar. I mean, you'd probably be bowling one spinner anyway. If the light was really good, it's that sort of stage, you may have one spinner on Bashir. Just the two spinners and the ball and the effect on the ball. It's fine. And also there's a bit of rain around tomorrow, so if you want to win 6 on the bounce this summer, you've got to stay on to win. Wokes does well.
Yeah, England currently holding all the cards. 5 wickets still to get. The last recognised pair out in the middle. I'll be very much inclined to give Joe Root the ball. He has a knack for breaking partnerships.
178 for 5. There's the match summary. 3-2-5, plays 178 for 5. This partnership excellent. 85 from 125. Two of the best batters from Sri Lanka in this series. Their skipper, Dhananjay De Silva, and Kamindu Mendis. Does give it a rip, doesn't he? Turn and bounce. Dan Lawrence has probably got more turn and bounce than Bashir at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's all to do with the action. I remember Stuart McGill talking about how
he wasn't taking the risk of flat batting it to mid-on. It plugs. And it doesn't make it to the boundary. They're going to have to run. Poor running. And he end up with a couple.
they're very poor running. And you can't expect it to go to the boundary. The outfield is usually very fast here at the Oval, but a lot to do with the weather. Soft outfield. It hasn't been as fast as it usually is, and this one just plugging and stopping. 2 runs left, or at least a run left in the shed. Stuart McGill used to always say that you need to turn the ball with your whole body. Your run up, the rotation of your body, everything goes into turning the ball. He always used the example of Murali, how his body just contorts to impart even more spin. And Dan Lawrence is very much the same. Very unusual action. And all of that are very well played. It did offer a very simple chance, but that's been a fighting knock. He's batted well, but not really gone on and made a big one. Perhaps here's the opportunity on a good pitch. Dark and gloomy day, dropped on 23, but that doesn't matter, he's still batting. Kamindu Mendis, an able partner to have, but this partnership needs to really grow. great example of footwork, isn't it? Opening up your stumps to create that room on the offside. The bowler won't mind that.
Yeah, I reckon, having said what I'd give it maybe 15-20 minutes more. If you don't look like you're going to get the breakthrough, then you'd say, right, we're going to go back to our quicker bowlers. But for a while I'd be happy. There is the difference in average turn. Lawrence 3.7 to Bashir's 2.9. 184 for 5. Well, England will actually want to bowl to come into Mendes a little bit longer here. It feels like De Silva has had more of the strike. He has 83 balls to 51. Any off-spinner will tell you that the left-hander is the better matchup. Just 14 balls Kamindu Mendes has faced in this session. That, unless he comes back for 2, is not what they want.
They're not facing many deliveries can work either way, isn't it? When you're a batter in form, you want more of the strike, but with 2 off-spinners bowling in this gloom, sometimes it's better to stay off. It just depends on how focused he is and his ability to dip in and out of concentration.
Down leg side. That's it.
Pope making sure that he's shining that ball up while the spinners are bowling. You can see now Bashir shining it up. If that was a little slider, a little arm ball bowled off that index finger. It swung a bit. Yeah, a little slider, an arm ball.
I can see the seam on that as well. It's more towards extra cover than leg slip. Sometimes allows the ball to just slide through if it hits the shiny side, bounce a little bit more if it hits the seam, but really doesn't turn as much. .185 for 5. Yeah, we're talking about turn and bounce and seam positions and how important they are in terms of getting that turn. And if you watch Bashir on your left and Lawrence on your right, Bashir's seam is a little bit more scrambled, while Lawrence is really perfect in terms of being an off-spinner. It's pointing towards leg slip. Bashir's one's just wriggling about, not really landing on the seam as much, and you can see the difference in bounce, bite and turn. And having watched Bashir Nasser over the course of this series, a lot of the time he doesn't get his seam position as he should, as consistently as Dan Lawrence does. And Bashir, of course, is the first choice spinner, and that's something he needs to work on a little bit more. Where on tracks that is not really helping him, he'll actually get more purchase.
Now they're trying to keep Kamindu Mendes on strike. Man on the sweep comes up on the single.
Same as Bash.
Debating whether they need a man up offside as well. Going to take man on the sweep away. So there's no easy single on the offside. Down the ground. Expansive shot. Flayed away to the sweeper.
Yeah, he's got to really understand the difference between Bashir and Lawrence. Lawrence bowling round the wicket or over to the right-hander has been getting consistently more turn and bounce. So if he's actually going to go over the field, it's got to be to the right of mid-off, hit with the turn. It's going a little bit too straight and splicing and slicing the ball, really. Almost a deep point. He was concerned. It's an interesting shot, intentionally played with the face open, but I like this line of attack from the off spinner, an attacking line, a little bit of drift, wide of off stump, getting the batter going across at the ball. The outside edge is in play, the gap between bat and pad is in play, short leg is in play, a lot more on offer to an off spinner with that line. You could actually change the field as well now, so you could get your short fine leg to square leg, bring a deep mid wicket up, put him at point, and just make sure that you bowl that wider line. See what happens from there. If it's straighter and too straight, it makes it a little bit easier. Of course, Dharanjit De Silva did get out in Manchester. But the right line is wide of off stump.
190 for 5.
Was it as dark as this, Nasser, Pakistan, when you won the chase?
Darker than this in Karachi. It is dark now. And it's still going to be spin.
This is a good field set for Kamida Mendes. Trying to frustrate him, stop him from getting on strike. He likes to attack spin, he likes to use his feet. Mid-off has been pushed back a little bit. They want him to make a mistake, get frustrated, get angry.
Under partnership. Two very fine players, two players in good form. If you follow Sri Lankan cricket over the last year or so, it's often been these two that either get them out of the hole or get them into a good position. Dhananjaya and Kamindu. Change of angle. It's going to come round the wicket. Joe Root will go slightly wider at slip on the angle. Good solid block. 193 for 5.
Lenore Unstoppables. There it is, the whoosh of freshness. Just chuck those little scent boosters into every wash for a whoosh of fresh that lasts and lasts. What a whoosh. And those socks, yes, still whooshingly fresh. Even at the end of the day, they're still enjoying that fresh whoosh. Lenore Unstoppables, the non-stop whoosh of fresh.
That's the breakdown of this partnership. Dhananjaya De Silva, 54 from 95. Kamindu Mendis has had less at the strike, 46 from 57. We're going to have a change in the middle, but it's going to be the same style. Joe Root's off spin.
I really like this change. Should have probably come in a lot sooner. He's got this amazing knack of reading batters, reading the game. He bowls like he bats. He's anticipating what the batter might do, really sequencing his delivery so that he's creating an opportunity.
All his great batting stats, bowling stat stands out. 5 for 8. Ahmedabad, Joe Root. What a start to his test career he is adding. No wonder he's smiling. He is in fine form.
And he's batting smartly as well, reading situations. It's not an easy place to bat. Number 7, it could be frustrating when you're in form because a lot of the times he hasn't had a partner to bat with other than the tail. But he's out-batted every single player in the Sri Lankan side.
Should he be at 7, or are you moving him at the end of this series?
Yeah, I think definitely move him up. Number 5, I think, is a wonderful position for him, the way he plays. How good he is against spin. Very solid against pace and movement as well. The series would have given him a lot of confidence, so you've got to build on that and build on it for the long term. So sit him down, have a chat with him and say, this is your position for the long term. and then from the next series on, he becomes one of your core batters. Even in this game, perhaps expecting maybe a number 5 move for him. And I think there'll be quite a few additions to be made, Nasser, in terms of how the side shapes up for the future. Got to have a long-term core, identify the players that you want to build this side around, and really make a commitment to it.
204 for 5. Well, we saw this at Lord's. It ends up a bit of a standoff. Shall we bowl our seamers? He's talking to one of them. What's happening to this cricket ball? Have we still got a shine on it? Are we just letting him have free runs here? What shall we do? Ollie Poper said, no, can't win in the dressing room. We're going to stay out here for a bit longer. Remember, if he goes to his quicker men in this light, the umpires will say, no, we're going off.
For Sri Lanka, the purpose is to just chip away at the lead. 121 now. Get it under 100, this partnership. Be batting, be smart, be patient. So they're getting closer and closer to England's total. Becomes an
5.
Somewhere, there's a man opening the neighborhood gym early so a kid can work on her jump shot. Somewhere, girls are drawing their own finish lines. Champions are turning into legends. And somewhere, teammates are whispering into the ears of the unsure, you've got this. We believe no journey is taken alone. Toyota, start your impossible.
Well, the captain, vice-captain chat as to whether or not they're doing themselves more harm than good to stay out there. England's mantra will be, so far as possible, to try and stay out there. Full house here at the Oval. Give people the cricket that they've paid to see. The lead is still 117. Kamindu and Dhananjaya are playing very nicely indeed, chipping away at that lead. Fabulous opportunity for Sri Lanka to edge themselves back into this contest. 5 for 93 they were before these two came together. Partnership now 115. The light calling the shots really as far as tactics are concerned. Evening, Stuart.
Yeah, good evening, Butch. It's an interesting decision at the moment. Chris Woakes, I think, has probably nipped off to get the information from the management to what they're thinking, because trailing by 117 Sri Lanka get themselves into this game.
just trying to eavesdrop from a distance on the conversation up there. It looked as though Brendan McCullum was talking about potential changes in the field as opposed to saying, look, we're going to call it quits. So England will continue. I wonder if going to stay out there, they could make it just slightly more difficult for Sri Lanka to pick up those boundaries and twos by perhaps putting a few more men in defensive positions, but it's not the England way. 3 runs from the 45th, 2-11 for 5.
Well, we'll see if Chris Wokes runs over to Ollie Pope, whether there's a message or not. Certainly the discussion, isn't it? Whether they stay.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I wonder if some of the older, more experienced players might be talking about giving away a hard-earned lead. Or whether or not they're all just like, listen, we're in, we're out here. There's wickets to be taken. Lead is still 114. Let's just carry on. Let's see what we can do. Can't do anything if we're sat up in the dressing room. Well, the umpires now come together. It is darker than it's been at any point in the Test match. Umps in no hurry whatsoever, just strolling around. I tell you what, it's dark. There you go, without even looking at the machine. And the umpires have decided that will be that. They've taken the decision away from Ollie Pope, the England captain, and have made the call to call it. So, as things stand at the moment, the lead for England is 114. Sri Lanka 5 wickets down in their second innings for 211. De Silva is 64. Kamindu Mendes, who has been superb for the Sri Lankans, has 54 not out, and the players on both sides will reluctantly make their way back to the dressing room.
Yeah, I wonder whether the light reading has got to the same as it was last night when the umpires took the players off the field. The England team are leaving slowly, moving reluctantly, but that was a fine partnership from the Sri Lankan batters to 118. They were in a bit of trouble at 93 for 5, but Sri Lanka have got themselves in a healthy position.
Well, England tried their best to stay out there and entertain this crowd. They could very easily have had the wicket of Dhananjaya De Silva. Josh Hull dropping a very straightforward chance at long on off Shoaib Bashir when he was just 23. But since then, two Sri Lankans have built a really impressive partnership, just milking the two spin bowlers, whether it be Lawrence and Bashir or Root and Bashir, just chipping away at this lead of England, getting themselves back into a half-decent position in this Test match. Remember, England are going for a clean sweep of all the Tests played in the summer for the first time since 2004. And as we've heard from Ben Stokes famously, they don't do draws, so they will do everything they can to try and win the game. The Sri Lankans will be doing the same. And for now, the light has got the better of all of us. Here's the Sri Lankans' first innings. Nissanka got them off to a flyer. At one point they were scoring at over 6 runs and over, 64 from 51. Then a string of low scores before this partnership between the captain Dhananjaya and Kamindu Mendes of 118.
Standout in the bowling unit for the bowlers is that 1 wicket for Josh Hull, his first wicket in Test match cricket. It's an exciting 5 over burst for him. Ollie Stone went slightly fuller. Most of the England bowlers to get his 2 wickets. Good breakthroughs. 93 for 5. We're in a great position. This latest partnership has got Sri Lanka back in the game.
Yep, sure has. They trail now by just 114 runs. England have had to bowl spin since the tea break. They certainly wouldn't have wanted to do that given the conditions. But fair play to them that they stayed out there in an attempt to try and take wickets and give the crowd some cricket to watch this afternoon. But